Hello, my name is Gretchen Spetz, and I'm a registered dietitian nutritionist, certified functional nutrition practitioner, and the owner of the Functional Kitchen. Today, I want to explore the question that you may be asking yourself: why am I always hungry? Especially how this pertains to your weight loss journey. Let's dig in. So, it's really important to consider what's going on both a metabolic level and on a gut health level. So, we're going to talk about both of those things and how they can make you feel more hungry than you should be. So first off, we need to talk about the concept of insulin resistance. What is insulin? Insulin is our most important blood sugar hormone, and it is responsible for being a little taxi cab service for sugar in the bloodstream. Its job is to pick up sugar in the bloodstream that has gone from the digestive system out into the bloodstream after you eat a meal and transport that sugar to cells to be used for energy. Its other job is also, if there's any leftovers that the sugars are not, that the cells are not picking up, is to put that sugar into storage, aka fat cells. So what happens is if we're in a situation where we're eating a standard American diet for a long time, which tends to have a lot more carbohydrates, especially easily digestible carbohydrates that don't have a lot of fiber, is that we put ourselves at risk or in a state of insulin resistance. This happens when our bloodstream is just flooded with blood sugar. Our pancreas does a great job sending out insulin, lots of insulin to pick up these sugar molecules, but the cells become overloaded with sugar and they start closing their doors and not taking in the sugar because there's just so much. So the insulin is forced to send these sugar molecules into storage. And this puts you in a situation where you're gaining weight easier than you ever have in your life. What tends to accompany insulin resistance is what's called leptin resistance. So, leptin is our satiety hormone, and it's actually produced by fat cells. If we're increasing the amount of adipose tissue we have because we're sending so much sugar into storage, then we are actually flooding the brain with more and more leptin. And just like our cells being flooded by sugar molecules, if the brain is flooded by a lot of leptin, it will stop listening to that satiety signal. It just turns off. It's too much. So we don't get that leptin signaling effect. We just feel hungry all the time. Now, let's talk about what's going on when it comes to your gut microbiome. So, your gut microbiome contains over 100 trillion different cells. So, it's bacteria, yeast, fungi, the whole works. Lots of single celled microbes hanging out in there. And most of them are really good. We call them commensals. The gut microbiome touches every single part of how we work. In fact, our gut microbiome sends 10 times the number of signals to the brain as the brain sends to the gut. If we have an overgrowth of bad bacteria, what tends to happen from a cravings level is we start to get messages that the gut wants more sugar, aka these gut microbes these not helpful gut microbes tend to want more sugar. That tends to be their number one source of fuel. So if you're constantly feeling like you have a sweet tooth, if you absolutely need dessert after every meal, this might be a situation where you want to think about the makeup of your gut microbiome. And good news, you can change around the makeup of your gut microbiome by what you eat pretty quickly. So, how do we fix feeling hungry all the time if we suspect we're dealing with leptin resistance and insulin resistance, and we suspect there might be some overgrowth of bad bacteria in our gut that's creating these sugar cravings? So, the first thing I like to suggest is that you follow my 30-30 guideline. And that means that at every single meal, breakfast, lunch, dinner, you are getting at least 30 grams of protein at the meal. Why is this so important? It's important for a lot of reasons that we're not going to cover today. But when we think about insulin resistance, we know that protein actually slows down the digestion of whatever carbohydrate you're eating at that meal. So that creates a slower trickle of sugar out into the bloodstream that can help to resensitize the cells and make them open to receiving sugar again to use as energy. The other thing that is so important is making sure that you are getting enough Fiber. Most Americans, and we're talking about over 95% of Americans, get less than the recommended 25 grams of fiber in a day. I'm going to challenge you to get at least 30 grams of fiber every single day. So, just to reiterate, my 30-30 guideline, get at least 30 grams of protein at each meal, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and get at least 30 grams of fiber over the entire course of your day. High fiber foods are going to include foods like berries. Berries are an amazing source of fiber. Seeds and nuts, another amazing way to fit in fiber in your diet. Beans also. Beans and lentils, completely underrated. Great, fabulous source of fiber. Avocados are also another incredible source of fiber. Of course, our fruits and vegetables are all going to contain some amount of fiber. So, just like you've already heard, making sure that you are filling half your plate with vegetables, at least at lunches and dinners, can also help to increase your fiber as well. Fiber also acts on blood sugar because fiber also slows down the digestion of carbohydrate that turns into sugar. So slowing down the digestion, so important for improving what we call insulin sensitivity, which is going to help your cells start to receive that sugar and use it for energy so it doesn't get stored. And then it's also that fiber is going to help feed the good gut microbes that we want to proliferate in the gut.